I know that you've literally had less than 60 seconds out of the Big Brother house, but how are you feeling, genuinely?
Actually, I'm feeling really settled, which I was quite surprised by.
Good. Why do you think that is?
I don't know, I feel like I didn't realise how much of a homebody I am and how much, like, comfort my friends, my family and, like, people around me and my house gives me. Yeah. So, yeah, being out of that felt really disheveling and I kind of just was finding ways to cope. And then, like, when it came to a moment where it was like, I could decide I could stay and it would be amazing and I can push myself more, but also I feel like I've broken so many barriers of things that I thought I couldn't do already that it still feels like I could fulfill. So it's a win-win. Yeah, it's a win-win.
You're happy in the house, you're happy.
Exactly.
It's the best place to be.
And now Martha gets her birthday inside the house.
Oh, yeah. That's lovely. Yeah. Now, obviously, you know, why do you think you're here? You was up against the other girls. Why do you think you're here?
Well, if I'm being honest, I don't think people love the activists. It's like, yes, we you know, like, we do what we do because we love everyone. And a lot of the time, you get a lot of stick. Thank you.
Bit of pushback.
Exactly. Yeah. And I know what I do is really unpopular, but, you know I do it for all of humanity's sake. So it makes, like, taking the hate on the chin really easy.
OK, good.
Because, yeah, one day, they will be thanking me. And other people like me.
Yeah. OK, well, look, let's start with nominations,
yes.
OK? Now, this was the first time that housemates have had to nominate each other. I'm assuming it must have been pretty intense.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes, and it takes quite a while, which I wasn't expecting.
It's a long day.
Yeah, it's a very long day.
But you struggled to understand why you were up.
Yes,
so,
exactly.
Well, luckily for you, we recorded it. We're actually recording everything in there.
Perfect.
So let's take a look at this.
The first person I'd like to nominate is Daze.
Daze.
Daze is very much a game player that changes herself within the environment she is.
Slightly manipulating people in the house to forfeit certain tasks.
She made Lily throw the hand-up challenge for her own gain.
I've seen a few times in tasks or games that we've played that she can't really... I don't think she can handle the competition.
I feel quite uncomfortable in regards to the fact that someone could change up their behaviour and their whole demeanour very quickly.
I wouldn't want her as my opponent. She's got to be right, I've got to be wrong, and I just want to have a nice conversation. She's hungry for the win. She just makes me feel a little bit on edge.
OK, so, Daze, you did receive a total of 5 nominations.
Yes.
Watching that back, did any of those surprise you?
Shagan surprised me, I'm not going to lie.
OK.
Like, the others, I'm like, you know, I'm a black woman who has a lot of opinions. The media doesn't love me, you know, so I'm quite OK with that. But Shagan was quite surprising because, yeah, in that game with Lily, we'd been standing there for almost 3 hours, 14 total, and it got to the point of where I knew, like, to be honest, that's why, like, I think it was when Thomas said, like, I couldn't take the game. I did get to a point myself where I went, Big Brother, I don't know if I can play this game because I don't think I have the heart to say mean things to people. And it's like, I know, right? I'm like, I wish I was, like, a big to be able to, like, go ahead and be like, you're a and you're but I'm just not. So that didn't surprise me so much. But I think to call me manipulative is so messed up because
it was
in
more in the
actuality...
hands-up
Yeah,
game.
it was the Lily hands-up thing, you persuading her to put her hand down. You were using some tricks to win the game.
I don't think it was using tricks. I think Lily knew, because, like, we got so close together so quickly, and she knew how much I was already struggling. So in that moment, I went, like, if it's just for a full fat Coke, could you just let me win, because I just want a bed. I even tried to negotiate with Big Brother and went, oh, would you mind if, like, I was totally still up for eviction, but I could have a bed tonight? Because, like, you know, most people didn't
Big Brother doesn't negotiate.
I know, he did not.
He does not
he
negotiate.
He said he would listen to me, then he was like, yeah, nah.
Yeah.
But, yeah, most people didn't know I actually have, like, chronic illnesses, and I have rheumatoid arthritis, so I was really worried about the harm that I was putting on my body by sleeping on the floor.
Well, you kept your hand up for 2.5 hours.
Because, yeah, because at one point, I was like, if I put it down, I'm going to have so much fun.
Well, look, let's move on from the tasks and talk about Nathan.
Yes.
Because you and Nathan had a really interesting relationship, because at times you two were absolutely going for each other, but then at other times you genuinely seemed like really good mates. So what was the deal? Did you just enjoy sparring with him, or like, are you gonna hang out after this?
100%. I keep telling Nathan, like, you're gonna meet all my activist friends, and now I can say I have a Tory for a friend. It's very weird.
Tory.
Yeah, Panto Tory, yeah, that was
Panto Tory. Yeah, and that's the thing, like, I really love Nathan. I think he's so genuine. And, like, even though he shows off to have a hard exterior, he is so soft and so empathetic, and I think our values very much align. But, you know, our values align, but also the solutions that we think meet those values, that's what doesn't align. So when we're having conversation, it's quite good, because he knows he's thinking of my argument and going, how can I beat her? Yeah. And I know I'm doing the exact same to him.
Yeah, you're
so if anything,
are sparring then.
Exactly, it's making it better for both of us to actually think, like, are these our political situations and opinions, or are we just kind of, like, being, you know, brainwashed? Can we debate it out?
Daze, I smell a podcast.
Yeah.
I smell a podcast, honestly.
Now, come on, let's go back to Lily, the person that you had an emotional goodbye with just now. You two struck up such a gorgeous friendship. What did you love about her?
Oh, there's so much love about Lily, and I think people don't get it. Like, she's so authentically herself, which in a house like that is, like, such a privilege to be around, of where, like, everyone's, like, very lovey-lovey, and you don't really know, like, who are the sheeps among, you know, who the wolves amongst the sheeps. And she's authentically herself. She's constantly joyous. And quite frankly, she doesn't give a shit what anyone thinks about her. It's so amazing to have that at 20.
But in tonight's show, we saw such a nice moment between you two where you were actually teaching her about empathy, something I often have to do with Will, actually.
I just don't get it. I just don't like people.
Doesn't get it. How much have you learned from each other?
I think we've learned so much. One, I've learned to allow joy into my life in a really authentic way, because she is so who she is, and I want to be more of who I am without, like, you know, because I do worry. I think, like, becoming an adult makes you worry about everything. Makes you worry about how you're perceived by other people, makes you worry about your job, makes you worry about so many things that you don't just get to be you. And she is so, like, fragrantly her. And I think that's what I've learned from her, definitely. And I think what she's learned from me is just, like, you know, those moments of where she maybe needs a bit of R&R to take it, you know? And I am a bit fearful about that house now, because she's been all, like, energised up.
Yeah.
And I know she's going to be pinging off the walls. But, yeah, I hope they learn to love her as much as I did, because, yeah, I do really love Lily, and I can't wait to see her. But hopefully, at the end...
She was like your little doll.
She was, yeah.
She was like your little doll.
And you were cleaning up after her, apparently. So that's... But look, just last question. When you were in the diary room, at one point, you were wondering why you'd even gone into the house, right?
Yeah.
But now that you're out, have you answered that question?
Yeah, I went into the house because, yeah, I think for me, I needed to feel like I could take that risk again, because I'd been taking risks my whole life. And then there was, like, you know, those adult years, the beginning of where, like, stuff starts not working out so well, and then you start to, like, really question everything. And it was just this moment of where I could be like, yeah, I'm going to do it. Yeah. I'm going to try and do my best and see where I land. Yeah. And I did it.
And we're so glad that you did it, Daze, because we will not be forgetting you anytime soon.